Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and today I'm going to take a look at the banners that CN had and the order they ran in for Girls Frontline to Exilium. Now we already know that the developers have said they're changing things up completely, as we already know because we had a Suomi and Ulrid run, and as you can see here on Taimus's spreadsheet, he has all of them in the order that they came out from the top left, right, down. And so you can see they're a good 5 units ahead that came out on the initial release for us. Now, just because we know that they're going to be doing things out of order, we can still kind of make fairly decent predictions or get a general idea of who will be coming out. And with that, we can also kind of plan our polls around future releases. And so when I go ahead and take a look at the tier list that we have here on Bridewin, I kind of want to look at the units that I am planning to get in the future, and then kind of make guesses what's coming up next to help me determine if I'm going to pull on a unit as they come out in the future. Now, one of the big things is, like, I know for a fact I will 100% be pulling on Kluke, and she came out 3 banners after Suomi on the CN side. Now, one of my thoughts is that the next banner is most likely going to be somebody in the first 5 that came out. It could be any one of them, but my guess is it's going to be one of these first 5. And that's just a guess. It could literally be anybody. But I would assume they want to avoid bringing out the big power creeps in the future. But one of the things that we have to think about is the developers know that we have this future knowledge of units coming out. And doing so, we aren't going to be as... We're unlikely to want to pull on the units that are no longer as high of a value as they were in the past. So, like when we see Jeonju here as a B tier, she actually came out on the 4th banner. I don't know where she was on the tier list on release, but I'm going to guess she was higher than B tier, and then as more units came out, she got moved down as she got passed up by other units. So I think they may do something similar that they did with Suomi and Ulrid, which is they're going to pair up potentially what people view as a lower tiered unit and then another higher tiered unit. When we kind of look at the units coming up, there's a couple that are higher tier here that are still in that S tier, and that's going to be Makihito and Shintarusi. And so Shintarusi was the 2nd one that came out. Makihito was the 5th one that came out. So I believe most likely one of the two is going to, the next one's going to probably be one of these two. And that's just so they can have another unit that comes out that a lot of people are going to want to pull for. And then they're going to pair it with most likely one of these other 3 here. Now, if they're wanting to try and target people to get their wallets, I think she will be a good one. Where is she on the tier list here? Lenna will be a good one, even though she is down on the B tier. When I actually go and look at her kit here, she is a lightning support, and she's kind of, and a lot of the pros on her, she's really good at that crowd control, putting paralyzing enemies and all that. And even though she's B tier, she is going to be a core component of your electric teams. So when you do eventually get that S tier or S plus tier electric unit in the future, she's going to want to be with that team, even though the tier list has her on B tier. So I think she'll be a good one to have as a secondary, or one of these other 2 that they compare alongside them. But that's kind of my thoughts on that, is it's going to be one of those 2 coming next alongside another one, or they may just do it by themselves and start doing single banners, because they have said they want to keep us that year behind CN. They're not going to be trying to catch us up like we see with other games, so they're not going to accelerate these. So doing 2 banners would be catching us up and would catch us up fairly quickly. So I don't know if they're going to do a dual banner. That's just my thoughts on if they will do one. But from there, after they most likely run, I'm guessing one of these units, my thoughts would be they either do the other one with one of the other units if they do a dual banner, or one of them by themselves, or they may mix in one of these other later units. Now, I don't know how the story works alongside all of the events, and so if anyone knows the story amongst the events on the CN version, and what would kind of spoil maybe the main story to an extent, those units and their events may be ones that I could see them not wanting to bring out now. Now, I don't know which ones kind of have spoilers, because I know the one that we have with Ulrid and Suomi really isn't spoiling anything in the main story if you did it first. And so that one was no big deal, it seemed, to kind of push it ahead. Now, if any of these other ones deal heavily with the main story, I could see them being held off in comparison to someone that has more of an isolated story to the main one. Now, that doesn't help me with predicting anything, because I don't know anything about the story regarding all the events. But if there is any information on that, I'm guessing somebody else out there will have that to give out as information. Now, with regards to who I am looking to plan around and pull with what I currently have, there's a couple units that I am really wanting to get in the future, and some of my reasoning behind them is because we're going to have there is content that requires you to have 2 full teams. So when I look at the tier list, I kind of just look at the big one is going to be Sustain. We already have Kolfine and we already have Kesina as healers, and then we have Suomi as our top tier healer that everybody should have at this point. I mean, she's pretty much a must pull unless you just really don't like her and you just want to use these two. But the next one coming up, the Centarusi. So looking at her kit and a quick glance, she's going to be just below Suomi in terms of the tier list, and she seems to be much more focused on healing versus Suomi, who has a light heal with big shields, and she is a burn element, so I'm almost certainly going to want to get her to pair alongside Quanju with that fire burn team. And so if she's coming up next, I'm absolutely going to be pulling on her for sure. Then we have Makiito, who is an ice sniper, I believe, when I look at it. And yeah, so she's an ice, she uses a sniper. She'll be a very easy pickup for me as well, to kind of get that ice team going, because we do have Suomi, who is the ice healing. And one thing is that she comes up next, I am going to be looking at the idea of pulling for Suomi's weapon because it does buff ice element. And so if I pick her up a weapon, she can just be an ice buff to her as well within kind of an ice team. And so the kind of 2 directions of the main elements I'm really focusing on these initial pulls is that fire ice side of things. And so that would be the other unit we kind of looking at would be Makiito. Now, when it comes to if they bring out Daeon here, one thing I don't really like about her, without having looked at her kit completely yet, now that's the key thing, I haven't really looked at her kit, but she does not have element. She's got the highest mobility in the game, so she's very mobile, but she doesn't have an element tied to her. And to me, I see that as a kind of a glaring weakness in trying to build teams around specific content, as you have bosses weak to certain elements in that. So she might be the one that I could see potentially skipping in the future. Then again, I'm going to try and pull a majority of the units in this game, but she's probably the one I would least like to be next. And now she was the first unit that came out on the CN side, so she very well could be coming next. So I'm hoping if they bring her out, they do a dual banner, so I have another unit that can pull a little bit heavier for. And then the other one that I will almost certainly pull for if she's on the next one is going to be Lenna. She's going to be a core of the lightning team. Now that I have Mosin as my lightning sniper, she will definitely pair well with her when it comes to building up that full lightning team in the future. So basically these 3 are the big ones I'm looking forward to coming up. The other 2 on the left, not so much. So I do hope they kind of do a similar thing where they have a dual banner with one of these and one of them, just simply because if one of these 2 come out and they're the next one, I do want to pull, because I want to pretty much pull every release. And since they're not dual banners, I most likely will pull on them if they come out first. But I'm hoping it's one of these 3, and then I will definitely go into them. Now, when it comes to the future units, I'm hoping they mix some of these in without going through these 5 first, and I'm guessing it's likely going to happen. They may try and pick a team, whether it's the lightning, the fire, the ice, and just do them back to back. Like make it where you're having to pretty much pull units back to back to get that core team together. So maybe if they do Lenna, then they'll bring out her, who she's also lightning, and then down here, one of these is lightning as well. I can't remember which one. I think it's her right here. Andress. She's a lightning tank. So I could very well see them doing an order of it being like Lenna, her, and then Andress. And so do the full lightning team, then shift into ice, go with the ice sniper, and then I don't know who's the main ice support. Is it let's see, because there's still some obvious missing support units on the CN side for some of the teams, and I think ice is missing the main or is she a support? No, she's just another ice sniper. So they may bring her out alongside the other ice units. Now, since we had Suomi, I could see Mecha Ida coming immediately next, just because ice to ice is an easier waiver than to try and get people to spend money to pull, because that's the whole reasoning they're going to change things up, is to try and release them in an order that incentivizes spending. So they're going to release units back to back to kind of work well together, is my guess, to try and incentivize spending. So, but yeah, that's kind of just some of my thoughts on it. I just thought I'd make a quick video on it. Regardless of what's coming up next, you'll want to make sure you kind of conserve your pulls, because there is, like, majority of the units in this game are very good. And like myself, I do plan to probably pull on just about everyone, because they're all pretty good. There's a few that I'm like, like the one that doesn't really have elemental with her, she's not like my favorite one to want to pull on, but I'll probably end up, especially if she's next. But yeah, to kind of make this video short, we'll just kind of end it here. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.